podcast. I'm with my good friend Scalf as always. How you doing, brother?
Good, man. How you doing?
All right, and we have a great guest today, his cousin, Matt. How you doing, man?
What's going on?
All right, tell us about yourself, Matt. Tell us what you're into so people can know who you are, and obviously me also to know who you are as well.
Gotcha. So I'm a sports broadcaster. Run my own online sports broadcasting website. Right now it's kind of on hold with COVID. So actually right now I'm working in web design, which is something I never really thought I'd be doing, but kind of got thrown into it. I mean, somebody said, "Hey, you want to make money?" Well, yeah, I'm not going to turn it down. So
There you are.
but the personal stuff about me. Just recently got married a little less than a year ago.
Congratulations.
Put a ring on it.
Yep.
Yeah, all right.
Put a ring on it.
There you go. Did she put a ring or did you put a ring on it? Who did that?
I did.
All right, there you go. Got to make sure so she hears it. It's like, yo, it was me. I did it.
Right. And then, just like most normal guys, like sports and, just like chilling out, hanging out, all that fun stuff. So.
Cool. So, man, yeah, welcome. Thank you for being our second guest we've had. Obviously, we had Chris's family on 1 week, and then another week we had them again also. They were kind of popping their head in and out, but it was fun. So, man, I'm glad to have you here. This week we're going to do something kind of interesting. We're going to talk about the effects that parents have on their children's life going forward. So hopefully you have a lot to say about this, but we'll go there. But to start off, I guess we'll start with the most recent news of today. The passing of DMX. Man, it was a great, crazy day today, but our prayers go out to his family and everybody there that hope they're going through everything and dealing with it the best they can. We can start there and talk about his life a little bit and everything. So, Chris, go ahead, man.
Hey, man, DMX, one of my favorite rappers growing up, still to this day. No one sounded like him. He sounded like no one else. He's one of those guys that came in, when after Pac and Biggie. He exploded onto the mainstream after that. I think it was 98 when Belly came.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was a great actor. He was only given some of the roles that they thought he could only play, but I thought he had more in him still. He was one of those cats, and I think him as a rapper, man, was just, he was completely himself.
Yeah.
He was one of those New York rappers. He really didn't sound like anybody else. And when he growing up, he had a real bad problem with his throat, man. And, he got made fun of a lot. And I think, through trials and tribulations, somebody kind of put him on like, hey, why don't you try this out, this art form? And he did. Look what it became of it. It's just a crazy story really not many people know about.
Yeah.
And I heard Nas say today, DMX had passed last night. I didn't know till today. But I seen Nas said today that, which is my favorite rapper,
mm-hmm.
but Nas had said today that, he thinks the perfect nickname for DMX was God's poet.
Yeah.
Because he had all those scripture rhymes, man. Like even like the tracks on almost every album he always had a scripture at the beginning and almost the end.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it be a bonus track or whatever. DMX was one of those people, man. You always knew that his mind was racing this dude was barking at everybody. That's who he was.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I loved it. I loved every bit of it. Like the dog in him. You know what I'm saying? I loved it, man. Like the Rough Riders anthem, I loved the whole, blood in, blood out, everything, man. Flesh in my flesh, blood in my blood.
Yeah, man.
And DMX had so many good collaborations too, which, nobody would mess with him unless he was the best at what he did.
Yeah, pretty much.
And I feel like hip hop needed him when he came in, and he came in so hard in 98 that he was by far the best rapper that year. Period.
Oh, yeah.
Jay was still out there. There were still guys out there like that, but DMX came in. He was the hottest. He was the best that year. Nobody would fuck with DMX. But rest in peace, DMX. Rest in power. I still think he's a king. He always has been a king in my eyes. And, Belly is one of my favorite movies as well. With that being said, I'm a big Steven Seagal fan. He did the Steven Seagal joints, the karate joints.
Mm-hmm.
DMX, man.
Yeah. All right, Matt, what about you, man? What's your opinions on DMX life and things you remember about him?
Thing for me, it's sad. It's a painful reminder that, no matter how hard or how easy people can say life is, he's the living example of no matter how much money you make, no matter how much fame or fortune, whatever, everybody still battles demons.
Yeah.
And, obviously we won't know until later what the exact cause of his heart attack was, but they're kind of leaning toward a drug overdose is what everybody was kind of hinting at. And, everybody knows his history with drug use. And, it seemed like he was turning the corner on that. They said he was 3 years sober. So if that's the case, it's sad because, it looked like he was finally starting to do better for himself. And then, if that's the way it really ended, then, it's just a tragic way to lose somebody like him. And I can't remember who said it, but somebody put it on Twitter. They were saying it's kind of sad how when, guys like him die, everybody rallies around, they hop on social media. Oh my God, we're going to miss him.
Yeah.
But and like I said, I can't remember who it was, but they were like, where were all these people at when he needed them the most?
That's true, man.
And that's another painful reminder to think about too is, and Chris and I can talk to this, we have family members that have struggled with addiction for a long time. And, it's sad to think about, it's just the snap of a finger is how quick one bad decision, one bad night can flip that back around, So that's kind of what I took from today. It's just, it's tragic to see, one snap of a finger and, he's gone,
Yeah. I mean, kind of similar to you guys, I kind of grew up with that era of music as well, and kind of grew up with his voice and how his vernacular, his words, how he could put things together, but also knowing his story about the drug addiction and things he went through. And it's crazy to think how life happens that way. Things happen at the best and worst times for your life. Like obviously at its peak, man, there was no one better in hip hop at its peak. There was no one probably in history that had that meteoric rise where it's like, you're the man. No one's better. And then obviously you have your lows that things happen. But man, it's a sad day, but also we have to look back at what he did. Like you can go, if you want to listen to some of his prayers, which I mean, I'll definitely probably have some somewhere in this podcast somewhere. But yeah, he would spit the truth and always stay on his mind. But the one thing about him, he was always authentic. Yeah, he was always authentic, man. And that's something we're going to miss. Yeah. Too many people are fake. He was one person that no matter what, he was him. He was going to be authentic.
He was always him. Yeah. Always. And sometimes too much. People thought he was too much himself.
Oh, yeah.
But now looking back, we knew it at the time. And now looking back, they're like, where is that in the world?
Yeah. The authenticity, man, matters the most, and being you, being truly who you are. Right. So yeah, I think as we go through this, I guess we'll kind of stick with that, but also to sign off on that part. Rest in peace, DMX, and to your family again. Our prayers go out to you. I definitely, unlike most people, I actually will pray for you and your family. Unlike most people will say, "Oh, I'm gonna pray," I will say a little prayer tonight to say I hope that family's doing better.
Yeah, just to touch on that, you're right. A lot of people go to that as the default,
Yeah.
Kind of, prayers going up for you.
Yeah, which is crazy, man. I hate it, especially obviously when you lose loved ones in your life. People are like, I'll pray for you. Like, I don't need your prayers, man, unless you're really going to do it. They'll say that. But yeah, I've always been that way. And
don't pump fake me now.
Yeah, I've been that way my whole life, and that's kind of how I was raised. If you're going to say you're going to do something, do it. So even if it's like a 10-second spill of like, man, like right now, God bless his family. We're good, man. I did as best I can. So yeah, on that, we'll kind of stick into kind of with that, talking about DMX life, we'll kind of go over there. He had a lot of stories about his youth and things he went through, and that kind of ties into our discussion tonight. You talk about how, I don't know if it was him or when he was at 13, 14, he got, or even younger than that, he got raped by an older woman. And I think it was his story that was like, this happened when I was young, and someone gave me crack, or was it he got crack and weed, somebody gave him that. Was so much stuff that's like, who does that to a kid? But that tied into our topic of how parents affect children's life, even then, now when they're young and also when they're older. So, I mean, I'll kind of let you lead off, Matt, with this one. I don't know if you have children, but you probably have a life story about how your life was affected by your parents or elders in your life that changed your life one way or another.
So I don't have kids, but to be honest with you, I probably spend more time with kids than 50% of parents do because I coach football, basketball, baseball. I'm involved with my church's youth the elementary program.
Wow.
I help out with Youth for Christ.
Mm-hmm.
But I will tell you, and Chris knows because, like he said, he pretty much grew up in my house half the time. I'll tell you, my father,
amongst others,
yeah, my father was such a no-nonsense man, and he taught me the big thing. I
Celtics fan, GT. I'm sorry, Matt. Celtics fan, GT.
Celtics fan.
Never forgets to let me know it.
So growing up, you know how like a lot of parents, I'm so proud of you, Timmy, for just being out there playing basketball. We're super happy that you
my the worst parents ever, man. No.
Yes. Like my dad, he was the kind of dad that like, and Chris can tell you, I wasn't the greatest basketball player or anything, but I was always bigger than everybody. Mm-hmm. And that's how I got away with, for the first half of my life being somewhat decent. And I remember one time I scored like 25 points, 20 rebounds, just dominated the game.
Nice.
And I get in the car and I'm like, Dad, I did a great job. I'm proud of my game. And my dad's like, yeah, what about the 13 other points you could have made if you didn't,
there you shots? Go. That's how it should be, man.
Trying to make you better.
And that's how I grew up is never being complacent with who you are. Always find ways that you can improve yourself. And that's always kind of stuck with me. And that's, like I said, I don't have any children of my own, but with my coaching philosophy and, through my youth group and Youth for Christ and all that kind of stuff, that's how I kind of, I'm not maybe as hard-nosed as him.
Yeah.
I think I was like 15. Mm-hmm. One time I, chested up my dad and I said, look, I ain't scared of you no more.
As we all try to do, man.
He wore my nose. He made me wear my nose across my face.
Remember that day? Yeah.
That's kind of.
He used to walk in. He used to take us to play basketball. I mean, even like into our teens, his dad did, and like he used to like walk into the court and like take the ball from us, and like stop the game, and like instructional video, like some Pete Maravich shit. You know what I'm saying? Like instructional stuff, like.
Yeah.
You don't go between your legs like Pete Maravich. You don't. Mm-hmm. You bounce pass.
Yeah.
In a pickup game.
Learn the basics.
Pickup game of basketball.
And I mean, we at the time, like, we just laughed about it. We look back now, like, that's what we needed.
Mm-hmm.
And you love him for doing it.
Yeah,
like, he would get out there and play with us, too. Like, he'd elbow us. He'd give us those sternum elbows. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he was small like my dad. Like, he was probably the same size as my dad, wasn't he, man?
Yeah.
So me and you kind of got the bigger end of the stick on that one, but I mean, no matter how big we were, they were always still trying to teach us.
Yeah, that's the key, especially in sports, as we kind of talk about everything with sports. I mean, those people, whether they be your father or a coach, have big influence in your life. Like the father who, like your dad going to you like, yeah, you got 25, but you could have 13 more points because this. I mean, those are lessons you learn that not only it may affect you and like, oh man, I could have played better in that game, but it teaches things down the line in life you can grow into. Like, think about if your dad never said, hey, you can do more. Try to do more and be better. You're like, oh, I should try more. So now as an adult, you think, oh, that comes back. So it's not also always those lessons that are like, here, this is poetic. You understand it. It's probably lessons that you never even think exist that come back. So yeah, man, that's awesome to hear that story about how your dad was like that, man. I know Chris's father. So if it's anything like your dad, then yeah, I understand.
They're quite similar, actually, to be honest.
The one thing I can say is right now we are helping, it's Chris and I's cousin, my wife and I, helping her with her kids. That she works third shift, and they spend a lot of time over here. And the one thing we're trying to teach them right now is humility. That's a big...
I saw
okay.
Yeah. So humility is the big thing we're trying to teach the kids now. I get it's the job of a mother and father to, you're precious and you're special and you're loved.
Yeah. That's their job, to be nice a little bit, and then
Matt, go ahead. Look at the face. Go ahead.
That might be might be true to a point, but look, the real world ain't gonna tell you you're special and precious. It's gonna chew you up and spit you out.
Yeah.
Learn that, the better you're gonna be in life. So
wad you back up and eat you in and spit you the piss back out at you.
Yeah. No,
you don't want your kids to go through it.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. Is a lot of parents, man, they will stop their kids from making every bad decision.
Yeah.
I hope some days I get home and I hope that I hear from a teacher and they say, Carter made a bad decision today. Because what I think is, I'm like, you know what? That's an opportunity for this little kid to get a lesson, constantly learn the lessons, constantly.
Grow into this and do more stuff. Yeah.
You have to. If you hold your kids back from learning anything constantly, no. I mean, everything's gonna be everything's gonna be a slap in the face when you get to that age.
Yeah.
And that's what we talked about growing up. Is our parents let us be us. Matt, your parents let you be you. My parents let me be me. GT, your mother, your grandparents let you be you. I mean, it was one of those things that I cherish that more than anything. And that's what I try to, like we talked about before, parental impact. I try to give Carter and Kennedy, because they were here for 7 years of my life before, Mia was born. So it was twins, It was a boy and a girl that were alike, that didn't want to be alike, but couldn't help but being alike.
Yeah.
But it was different, And it got to a point, man, to where, I just had to tell them both, like, hey, like, I'm learning as much as you are. The impact goes both ways. This isn't just a one-way impact street here, And how do you tell that to twins when you have to split it up? Carter, you're being great today, but Kennedy, your attitude's crazy.
Yeah. It's probably tough, man.
And before you realize it, you compare them. And they're like, we don't want to be compared. We don't want the same gifts for Christmas. We don't want, So the impact of, your parents on you is very similar to the impact of your impact, your kids' impact on you. But at the same time, every situation is different. I never had a brother, a true brother, like a blood brother. I've never had one. Matt?
I did, but he died before I was born. So, I grew up without a brother. Physically, So, yeah.
Yeah.
So, every situation is different, and, parents parent kids differently based on, their past experience. I mean, and I think Matt probably feels like he got babied too much because of what happened to his brother.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I mean, at the same time, like, my experience is completely different from myself. And, my cousin Cody, GT, he don't even know who his real dad is still to this day. It's all speculation still to this day, And, but he never had any brothers. The only sibling he has is a younger sister. And she's the one that Matt helps out with her kids, because she has 5 kids and she's pregnant again.
Yeah.
So looking at her impact on them is like, how do you work and still have an impact on your kids when you're a single parent?
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of part of my story too, man. I kind of grew up after my grandparents grew up with my mother only, really. And so having a single parent, it is tough, man. It's tough I realized how much it wore on her as I started getting older. Obviously, she was in high school. So by the time I started recognizing this affects her, I was a preteen. So I could see like, man, she's working a lot. She's working late. She's doing this. So I started learning to do things. I was like, how can I help her out? And so a lot of kids don't do that. A lot of kids are like, oh, well, it's me. I'm going to sit there and play and everything. I was like, well, my mom works a lot. Let me start some dinner. Let me clean the kitchen up. Let me do this. Things like that. But that was just
Jesus Shuttlesworth that he got gained.
Yeah, that's because I just saw the stress that was on her life. And it affected me more to see like, okay, how can I help my mom more? And so my drive up until that point was like, how can I get her the world one day? One day I was like, I'm going to give you something. Obviously, I haven't reached that point yet. It's coming. Mom, it's coming. But I'm going to get her everything when I get to that point. Even if she's like 70, 80 years old, like, hey, Ma, sorry it took so long. But here's this big old mansion that you may not live in long, but hey, here you go.
Yeah, we might not have enough money to upkeep it, but hey, we got it.
Yeah, we got it. So, but it's one of those things. But yeah, I get like, man, not having the father figures around things, and that's why it's cool to see that, Chris, you came into Carter and Kenny's life first, and like that gives them so much structure that they don't know about. They don't think about, especially young men, more than men, and also the girls, but men first. Like, man, having a father figure in your life to teach you like some things that women can't teach, or some things women can't just teach young men. There's some things that got to happen. So having that in your life, and I had the same thing growing up. I had my uncles, I had my cousins, I had grandfathers, and I kind of learned from all those men how to be a man. Yeah. Even when my dad also
took pieces from them.
Yeah, I had like 20 different men teach me in my life. So I was like, all right, you're good at this. Oh, this uncle, he's good at hustling in the street. So let me learn that street hustle part of that life. This uncle's good at business. Let me learn that part. And I kind of started getting things in and getting that this person's good at compassion.
And it shaped you.
Yeah. So I think, everything you guys are doing and the kids you're around life is great because it's not just the parents that affect that kid. A lot of people think, you can't teach my kids, especially now you see on TV and even in real life where parents go to schools and bitch at teachers when teachers are like, hey, your child's acting up. It's like, wait, don't yell at my kids. Like, what are you talking about? Like your kid needs that. And I think a lot of parents miss that point.
We're not letting them get spanked in school anymore, but at the same time, I wouldn't be mad about it.
Well, and to piggyback off of that, one thing, being an outsider, not having kids, that drives me nuts.
Well, he doesn't have kids.
I don't have kids either, no.
I saw a Facebook post about this the other day. It's the fact that too many younger parents are more worried about being friends with their kids. Yeah. I want my kid to be my best friend. Look, when I have a kid, that's the last thing my kid will be with me. He will not be my best friend. He will probably hate me more days growing up than he will like me.
And I mean, like, you're right. And there's levels to that shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, when I was growing up, I knew there's things that I trusted my mom with, learning from her more than other things. Same with my dad. Like, I'm not learning sports from my dad. My dad didn't like sports, bro. Remember?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Like, he didn't know anything. Yeah, right. He liked karate and he liked baseball. But he only liked the pitchers. You know, so I'm like, how do I, like I told GT before, it's like I'm sitting back in the next room as him trying to bond. We're both sitting in the different rooms right next to each other, like thinking about how to bond with each other. But both of our heads like out the window, like hitting weed, like, how do I bond with my dad? How do I bond with my son? And all we had to do was this.
Like, hey.
You know what I mean? And then we could just get high and watch baseball. And it wouldn't matter. Well, no, I'm joking. But,
well, it could have been. Like, that's the only time you can watch baseball unless, like, you're live at a game, man. Watch on TV is horrible.
Room to breathe. Right.
Man, I guess I'm the weird one because I like baseball.
I love it. I mean, I can watch on TV now.
Me and him are actually coaching together in the same team this year.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Yes. I want to give a shout out real fast to my cousin, Jonathan Davis, playing for the Toronto Blue Jays, man. He's in the majors finally. It took a few years. He got hurt a lot. He's finally actually on the main roster now, so doing well, man. Doing well.
When you said Jonathan Davis, I immediately thought you were going to say you were related to the dude from Korn.
No. Jonathan Davis, yeah. You probably know him because you're a sportscaster, yeah. So he's getting there, man. I'm glad for him. It's cool to see him. It kind of goes to him. When he was growing up, I think I'm probably like 10 years older. So playing baseball, I was like the first one in the family who was real. I was real good at baseball growing up. And when he was little, he used to look at me all the time and say, I want to be like you. I want to be like you. He would come to my games and be like, I want to do that. I want to do this. And I never thought anything about it. I was like, all right, I'll go throw baseball with him, not thinking anything. But I didn't realize he was looking at me saying, my big cousin, man. He's
the measuring stick.
He's playing hard. So now he took it to another level. So if I have kids, guess what I'm going to do? Like, hey, see your cousin? He's in the major leagues. What you going to do? Like, what's your level?
On a quick side note, I know that, Chris, I know you said you don't follow baseball like you used to. What do you guys feel about the new minor league baseball structure and how it kind of screwed like 100 teams out of being affiliated with Major League Baseball?
Oh, yeah, I heard that.
So they tried to mainstream it a little bit to make it a little bit more cost efficient. And I think it was like 131 teams or something like that are now independent baseball teams because
really
instead of minor league baseball being separate from Major League Baseball, Major League Baseball now controls the minor league teams. So kind of like the G League and the
same
NBA.
platform. Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
sorry,
it's good and bad.
The G League.
Yeah, it's good and bad. I think that's a good thing, though. When you think about how it could affect it, like I think the G League needed NBA to jump in. It could actually make travel better for players instead of riding on a bus 10 hours to get to a place like, we'll cover you for this. And because you got like, say if Kyler Murray would have went to play for the Oakland A's, he would have been in the minor leagues for like 2 or 3 years.
It's a bad look for your minor teams, dude. Like
some of those guys make $40 million a year in the minor leagues.
And that's always been the problem with baseball. You guys don't market your players. The smartest thing they did this year, we just talked about this yesterday, Matt, the Major League Baseball finally put the show on Xbox. And I found out yesterday that it's going to be cross-platform, PC and everything. So they're really going all out for it. Nice. And that's the way you market baseball 2K, to younger kids.
Isn't the show 2K?
No, it's Sony. Well, I don't quite understand because the Xbox version is being made by a complete different company, and Sony Entertainment's still making the PS4 version. So it'd be really interesting to see if
the game actually
they're all in cahoots with each other. They have to be.
Yeah.
The money might be traveling through different avenues, but it's still going back to probably the same fucking source. So, my thing is, like Major League Baseball has never really like advertised. That's their problem. They don't advertise like their best players. Like you don't see. I mean, like you'll get lucky and see Bryce Harper. Mm-hmm. I think he was on that James Harden commercial.
Oh yeah.
Where he was like trying to do.
Is on the Subway commercials and some stuff.
Mike
like
Trout
that.
is on there. Yeah.
But I mean, it's hard to come by. I mean, you see Kevin Durant, and he's not even playing. I mean, you see, NFL players, NBA players. I mean, you don't see very many MLB players at all being advertised.
It's tough. It's tough to do that. I mean, they also make a lot of money once they get real good.
Well, I mean, a lot of it is because, well, you're right. I mean, I'm not saying they're not. I'm just saying that, they don't advertise their players. And they don't spend money on it. They don't. Because a lot of their players' money comes from straight up endorsements.
Well, and you got
just like with any other league, but they don't. The MLB does not spend money marketing their players, and I think that with them doing this thing with the minor league teams, I mean, if you're going to make them legit, if you're going to give them some more cash flow, put them on, you're gonna be in cahoots better and bring better players up and have more players be enticed to come in because you are more legit. I mean, why wouldn't you invest into, the small vein leading up to the heart of it all? I mean, I don't understand. Because if you
not to cut you off, but going back to the endorsement thing, it's really kind of hard to justify, like, outside of selling baseball jerseys.
Yeah.
Like Bryce Harper doesn't get signed by Under Armour to sell regular shoes. They want him to sell cleats.
Right.
Where you can go in a store right now and buy LeBron.
What about football players?
LeBron and all that. You can buy his shoes and you can wear them anywhere.
Well, yeah, no, football players are different because they call them training shoes.
It depends on which ones, though.
So, yeah, I got JJ Watt training shoes because like they're training shoes. Like that's.
When you think about baseball, do you think about players really training?
Which they should think about that. Those guys train hard.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
but yeah, they should.
Major League Baseball just does not do it right. I'm not saying they don't do it. They just don't do it the way that other Major League sports do in America.
Well, and they're the ones more than anybody, to be honest, that have not adapted to the new school of thought too.
Yeah.
The NBA is super good about, using social media, and the NFL is super good with that. And it seems like the MLB kind of got left behind in that regard.
Yeah, you're exactly right. But I think, like the days like Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa, like that's the days they did. And then like all the PEDs came in and it gave baseball a bad name there for a while. And then they kind of got away from it, but like, I mean, I think like if you're going to promote it, you have to promote it to the young kids. And I think them adding MLB The Show on Xbox is a huge thing for young kids because it touches that many more young kids. You know what I'm saying? Seriously, I mean, the kids are out here, before they actually play the game, most of the time they play the game on the video games.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're interested in it, they might go get into it more, or at least know who the players are. Because most kids don't buy sports cards anymore, dog. They're not as easily accessible as they used to be for us. You know what I'm saying? Like, I remember, like, before we even, like, had cable, you didn't get to see the Hawks play very often. I mean, I guess you did with Dominique here and there, but you didn't get to see him play like you've seen the Lakers, or you were limited to what you were exposed to. There was no YouTube.
The Knicks.
You're right. So you had to have sports cards to like see stats and where they played before and what the guys' birthdays were. Or, you know what I'm saying? Like that's what you gain from sports cards. But now you can't go to normal places and like find sports cards to find that anymore.
Well, and that's,
you know what I'm saying?
100% the pandemic. And you and I talked about this. We went to the card shop. What was it? 2 weeks ago.
A couple weeks ago, yeah.
And the pandemic had driven up the prices of everything. Like $400 boxes are now $1,500.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
Because also, everybody was stuck at home, so they got back into collecting all that kind of stuff. So,
and what about the new thing? They have the digital one.
Oh yeah, that's.
Yeah, I was thinking about. It's too late to buy into it now. Obviously, it would have been cool to buy packs then, but
yeah. Now I saw where like a LeBron digital card, it was digitally autographed, not even a real autograph, went for like $3,000 or something like that.
It's crazy.
Lord have mercy.
Yeah, it's the weirdest thing, man. Talking about stuff like that, like, and I think we stay in this vein. I mean, I like the baseball discussion because, like, I'm a diehard White Sox fan. I mean, I love them, man. I hope
Frank Thomas, baby.
This is the year I think we're gonna get back to at least the playoff range of things. So
that's what the ladies used to call me, though. They used to call me Big Hurt.
So yeah, we can stick in baseball, man. So talk about the new stars and everything. I'm not going to acknowledge the Big Hurt thing at all. That was absurd. I don't want to skip over that as much as I could. I just kept going. It's one of those things, like, if you just keep going, you're like, nah, let's skip over that.
That's my father's impact.
Don't acknowledge that. Just keep going. But yeah, in baseball, how do you guys feel about it? Do you think because it's been, people are able to go out finally for the first time now, and baseball season's the only thing kind of live you can go see. Do you feel it's going to get like a little surge in like popularity for at least this year?
Or? Well, I did hear most of the ballparks are going to be full capacity by June. And I think with just seeing the trend and the way everything else went during the lockdown, I think there'll be probably a short-term boost, but it'll be interesting to see if Major League Baseball can sustain that type of rush of people. The thing about baseball, and people can deny this all they want. I know when we were kids, Chris, we didn't have the best attention spans, but we could go watch a baseball game and
What'd you say?
Watch it. Exactly.
Yeah.
But nowadays kids sit through 3 innings of a baseball game. They're like, oh, this is so boring, because, baseball is a slower game. You're not getting a hit at every at bat. You're not, it's not an action filled game like football or basketball. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can hold that attention or that
there's no cheerleaders.
Surge. So
there's no cheerleaders out there.
So yeah, one thing about baseball is you have to be explained the game, and it's one that I would say that and golf are two of the hardest sports to play, because it takes the most hand-eye coordination out of all of them. Like, you really have to be, if you're good at baseball, you're good at baseball. Like, you're not one of those people who can fake it and be like, I can do this. No, it's a tough sport. Like, at least in football, you can outwork somebody. Basketball, you may not be able to shoot, but I can get rebounds, outwork you. But baseball, you can try to outwork somebody. If you can't
well, baseball is one of those things you have to play both sides of the ball too.
Yeah.
I mean,
even pitchers.
That's what I'm saying. Like, baseball was one of the first that was a world game. You know what I'm saying? Like the Major League Baseball, at least.
And it should still be. It's one of the best sports. I think every child should play that sport sometime in their life, whether it be
softball, baseball.
Yeah, should play that sport sometime in life, because it teaches you some skills of just patience and looking for things. Like, and just trying to hit a baseball, trying to pick up the pitch out of a pitcher's hand in a split second, man, that you gotta learn that fast, and that's a skill you have to learn. And I think that'll be a great sport, and it helps you for football, basketball, for everything. You can get that fast reaction. So yeah, I think the uptick in baseball this summer is gonna be great. I think the more people to watch it, the better. It gives us more sports. I hope that follow on suit that actually soccer becomes bigger in America also, because there's no reason America should not be one of the top teams.
Didn't even make the Olympics.
We should be one of the top teams.
Didn't qualify.
Yeah, it makes no sense. Too many good athletes in this country to not be one of the top teams in the world.
And to be honest, if I could touch on that real quick, I think that baseball, man, out of all the sports I played growing up, I can honestly say that baseball was probably the one that I gained. Looking back now, I gained the most life lessons from, as far as, like how to play on a team. Like, I went through a lot of temper tantrums when I was a kid too. I had a bad temper.
Okay.
So if I struck out a lot, like, I'd throw the bat. I was one of those kids. You know what I'm saying? My first couple years.
Those are no-nos in baseball.
And then, when I threw the bat, though, like, it would end up right back in my hand, because I was one of the best players on my team. But at the same time, it wasn't always fun, because sometimes your team sucked.
Yeah.
Right? So you had to, think you were the shit, which we're going through right now as coaches with players, first practices and everything. You think you're the shit, and then you end up shooting yourself in the foot, and your team sucks, and you get no notoriety because your team sucks.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or you just want to play one position, you refuse to play any other positions. Yeah. Or the coach wants you to, you know what I'm saying? Like it's all, but I think, parental impact, I think the best thing my parents ever did for me was let me play travel baseball. Like let me play with other kids from different towns and, all-star games and shit like that. Like Matt came to a game once when I was a kid, a travel game in Findlay, and I was a catcher. That was my main position over the years. It's kind of what I gravitated into playing. But I played them all. We all probably did. But I was getting my gear on, and there was a guy in the hole, if you will, practicing the swing. I was getting my gear on, and he hit me in the elbow with his bat. And he broke my elbow. But the coach, even after I told him, he said, get out there and pitch. So I walked out there to the mound, man. Like, this is what shows you, like, the times. And, like, I walked out to the mound. I tried to raise my arm to pitch, and I couldn't even raise my arm up. So my dad put me in the car, took me to the hospital. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a physical game.
Yeah.
It's not football. Like, you learn lessons during this shit. Like, and I'm still friends with that dude that broke my elbow to this day. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that was as, like, a 12-year-old kid. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, you don't get that shit every day, man. But, like, a lot of kids don't want to play games like that because it's not action-packed. It's not Call of Duty. It's not, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not right in your face like a fucking Marvel movie.
Yeah.
Like, kids are so bored these days because they have no imaginations, because they have things that do it for them.
Yeah.
So baseball is frowned upon. And that's why, hearing that they took the G leagues on in baseball, the minor leagues on like that, kind of makes me feel good, because I think kids need baseball more than any sport these days. Yeah. Because baseball is an American sport. Be honest. Baseball is a true American sport, not fucking football. It's baseball. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like if more kids these days, if more parents, you want to get mad at your kid for wanting to play tackle, so you put them in, flag football, let them play baseball. Let them get hit by a couple balls. We had the biggest kid in our team, didn't we, Matt, the other day, our first practice, man, he got hit by like 5 random balls. He's like, like, he's getting lit up, man. And I'm like, dude, this kid's tough. Like, this kid, he's learning shit right now, like how to be tough about shit. Yeah, it hurts. He's gonna have fucking bruises and shit. Like, if a kid gets hit in football too hard, it might throw him off like it did my son last year. He got hit too hard, and like it messed up his whole year.
In practice by his own teammate.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I mean.
But going back to the baseball thing, and I'm going to have I'm an old man get off my lawn moment. I think one thing that makes me the most mad about baseball right now is I'll use a guy like Max Muncy as a perfect example for the LA Dodgers. Like, I don't care if you're hitting 40 home runs if you're batting 189 for the season.
Oh, yeah. The Dodgers upset me so much. I lived in LA, and Dodgers fans were like, yeah, we're going to win. And they finally won it, but I told them for years, like, you're never going to win just being a team that hits home runs and strikes out. Never will win.
What was it? Chris Davis.
It's like the Rockets winning the NBA championship. James Harden.
Davis for the Orioles, if you remember him.
Yeah.
He struck out like 480 times in one season and still started every game. Like 10 years ago, 15 years ago,
he wouldn't have played
those dudes would have been out of baseball.
Yeah.
They want to live for the long ball. So I'll be full on old man.
You got to sell tickets.
Old man, get off my lawn. So let's talk about hockey, how they've decreased the blue, the goalie crease, so we can have scores of 7-6. Okay, that's cool every once in a while, but every once in a while I like to see a defensive matchup. I like to see pitchers duels.
I want to see somebody fight.
It's great that, Major League Baseball on most nights. Like I just saw the Braves and the 8-1, 8 runs. When we were growing up, Greg Maddux and Tommy Glavine, Nolan Ryan, those kind of guys, you weren't
Randy
seeing
Johnson.
Randy Johnson.
Yeah, they gave 8 runs. Like, it was a weird night.
Exactly.
Yep.
My guy was Pedro Martinez, man.
Pedro.
And like, he asked any of my friends when I played baseball as a pitcher, they were like, man, just like my coach would say, you like Pedro, you get a long ball off me, like I know how to get close enough to hit you, or close enough where it's like, all right, I'm not gonna hit you. I'm gonna scare you enough, like don't hit the ball like that anymore, because it's one of those things where you have that territorial thing, and it teaches you like, how can I push the limits of this guy to say, look, you didn't scare me by hitting the home run, and it wasn't like I wasn't gonna hit him. I knew how to control my fastball enough to be like, all right. I get close enough inside where it lets you know, like, you got one off me one time, not again. And it's just kind of that dominance. It's those little things in baseball that are, how do I strike dominance over another person mentally by little things, throwing the ball at you a little close. So,
Mamba mentality, yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the baseball is built like that. And that's what made Randy Johnson
Pedro Martinez did that, though.
Oh, Pedro did all the time. Edge. He always throw it right at you, like, just for the hell of it, just be like, I'm going to throw one at you. Let's see how you feel about it.
I'll tell you a funny story. So, it was my first year of playing Little League, which I think was 4th grade. I begged my coach for like.
You weren't little.
No, yeah, I was a big Little League, but I begged him. First let me pitch. He's like, we got pitching. All right, one pitcher was on vacation, the other one got rocked. So he said, all right, here you go. Show me what you got. First pitch I pitched, reared back and probably threw 45, 50 mile an hour fastball, which for a 12
back in the day, that was the thing.
Hit
right 60, you're great.
Hit the girl right in the head.
They didn't have the ear
right in the side of the head.
Oh.
No, I caught it right there, like where the earpiece ended.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Heather.
So the rest of the game was cake because everybody was so scared. I could have rolled it. I could have rolled it to the plate, and they'd have been jumping out.
Yeah, that's kind of what it was, man. That was Pedro Martinez. But I remember just those days of baseball, throwing the ball, and like just little nuances, man. Like, and one thing I learned, and I wish they would do this, like the Little League World Series. I hate seeing 10, 12-year-olds throwing curveballs. Like, and my coach would never let me do it growing up. He's like, nope, no. He said, your arm's not ready for that yet. And like, you wonder why kids now are starting to get Tommy John surgery at 15. See, like you can't just start when you're young and your bones are still trying to grow. And it's like my coach like, nope, you can't. I'll teach you a changeup and a fastball. That's about it. And I'll teach you 4 variations of fastball. So he taught me every fastball you could throw. He taught me how to throw all those and a changeup.
2-seam, 4-seam.
Yeah, he taught me split, everything you could throw without messing up your rotators. So he taught me all that stuff before I got to the point. And he was a former minor league player. And he was like, I'm going to teach you all this stuff because one day he saw me in the backyard, once again talking about the father figure thing. We used to have an apartment building in Nashville, and every day I would throw the ball up and hit it all in our bed. We had like a huge, 200-yard thing in the back behind our apartment. I used to hit it every day. And he's sitting there and watching me. He's like, do you play baseball? I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh, okay. So every day he watched me. And one day he's like, he's out here every day. I'm going to help him. So he's teaching me how to hit the ball better, how to throw the ball. Yeah. So every day he would come out and teach me. I didn't know he was going to come out. I was like, oh, man, this guy that I don't even know is teaching me how to play baseball better. And that's kind of that thing. But baseball joins people. They see you doing it.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those sports where there's little nuance of how to hit the ball. How to hit a home run is not so much brute force, and it's more of how you swing the bat, how low you get your bat head. Or throwing a fastball is not
planted.
So fastball is not so much of overthrowing it, it's how much movement can you get on this fastball to make people think it's something different. So things like that I was learning. I'm like, oh. And he's like, I'm going to teach you only these pitches. Don't learn. He told me, like, until you get to high school or even later, don't throw a curveball. He said, you may not be with me, but if your coach says throw a curveball, tell him no. He said, trust me.
Throw them to your girlfriend.
Yeah.
I just actually read an article. It's funny you talked about, how you throw the fastball. They talk about like a 92 mile an hour fastball with spin is actually, they say 2.5 times harder to hit than like 101 mile an hour straight fastball. They were talking about like how Trevor Bauer's now being accused of using like illegal substances. I don't know if you heard that story.
Yeah.
They submitted like 4 of the balls into this rules competition committee because they said there was no way that like the way the ball was spinning out of his hand, that it was just natural. And I get it to a point, but I mean, if you think back to the 80s, football and baseball, Pine Tar, was it the Raiders receiver? Fred Belitnik.
Yeah, he had
you better quit going straight to the Raiders.
He's where to
this is a
stick
true
him.
story.
He's
man.
where to stick him.
I remember.
Hands up like this, and the ball hit him in the chest.
Yeah. Remember Little Giants? He got it stuck to the...
Yeah.
Yeah,
he didn't even, like legit, man. Like, they used to sit in the dugout and file down the laces of a ball to get, better grip. I mean, that was what it was back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, man, it like I said, like everything kind of ties into it, to how sports, and we kind of talk about sports a little more, but everything ties into what you learn from coaches and those father and mother figures you may have. And obviously softball, I'm glad that we can go to baseball. I hope that baseball, I don't know if they're doing what basketball and football is doing, to hire more women to be coaches in the men's league. I hope they're doing that more, because it's one of those things, it's probably the easiest sport to do it compared to all of them, because I think it's one of those sports where you have to manage the lineups, the people. It's probably easier than dealing with a basketball player who thinks they're a prima donna, or a football player who just probably takes too much of some substance sometimes. So I think, I hope baseball goes the same way other sports are doing, hiring more people and getting women involved as well, man. It'll be a great way.
Yeah, I think just to touch on that really quick, the fact that Becky Hammond did not get a head coaching job.
She's close. She's close. I think it's been told. I think Pop told her, like, just stay. This is your job. I think that's the reason she hasn't left. I think people want to hire her. No one wanted to hire her, and then Pop's like, you know what? I got you. Like this is your job.
The fact that Queen Latifah can't actually really be a physical therapist in the NBA yet bothers me. I know she's just an actress on Just Right, but I feel like she can actually do that job. That bothers me.
And also, Common's not the best player.
Shout out to you, Queen La.
But yeah, so on that note, that's crazy. But yeah, so man, this is how can we tie to? I'm sorry, everybody. The Queen Latifah thing is the craziest thing I've ever heard. But yeah.
to go back to like the sports.
Yeah.
Thing, I think, it's like Chris and I talked about. Now I coached Carter, his son, in football this past. And
oh god, sorry.
I think a lot of it was due to COVID and obviously the concussion deal. We lost a lot of players, but we had to go down to one team last year.
Yeah,
and not that probably anybody who's going to watch this podcast that is our coaches, but we had two very different types of coaches.
Hey, speak for yourself. Everybody's coming on.
Shit.
Everybody's coming on. We're gonna call them. I'm gonna call them. Hey, listen to this podcast.
But and Chris can talk about this in a little bit too, from a parental standpoint and how it kind of affected Carter. But we had all the coaches. So we went down to one team last year, and coaches from both teams were combined. And for lack of better terms, at a 5th and 6th grade level, winning should be the last thing you're worried about. What you should be worried about is
shouldn't be the last thing.
I'm just going to say it shouldn't be that.
I'm not going to coach unless winning's in the formula.
I mean, okay, it should be a part of it, but at the end of the day, nobody's going to remember that undefeated 6th grade basketball or football team if we're not preparing them for the next level.
Yeah.
That's our main goal at 5th and 6th grade, to get them ready for junior high so they can be ready for high school. And last year, they were like, what was the first 4 games? We were up by probably 40-plus points. And not a single kid from the bench came onto the field.
That's what we're talking about, right?
Wow.
1 minute and 30 seconds of the game. And they could have probably played the entire 3rd and 4th quarter.
You probably
would have never come close to losing.
Thank you.
And it became more about winning. It became more about the coach than it did the player. And that really, and I know you can.
We're talking Little League football.
Yeah, 5th and 6th grade kids.
Wow.
Like we're talking, that's what Little Giants is about, the whole movie.
Yeah.
So
it's about one motherfucker that takes it too serious and one motherfucker that just does it to have these kids.
Kicking and screaming, Chris.
Yeah.
Okay.
Movie.
I love it. You know what I'm saying? And one of the brothers just wants the kids, he just coaches so they can have a team.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? One might be better for you when it comes to football progression, and one might be better for you when it comes to life progression. And you'd be lucky enough to have both of them on one team. You know, to be honest, if I could say right now that I had any coaches in my life, any sports coaches that really impacted my life, I'd be lying to you. I really didn't. A lot of the guys just coached their teams because, like Matt had said before, their sons were on the team, or but you didn't care, but they really didn't impact my life like that. But I've seen it's more players in my team that has impacted my life. But you give credit back to your parents because they're the ones doing the work to get you to the motherfucking games.
Yeah.
To make sure you had those double Powerades in your bag. You know what I'm saying?
What, like Powerades and Gatorades.
This was before Gatorade. It was VR Troopers before Power Rangers.
Yeah.
All sport.
All sport.
Like, it was all sport, bro. Yeah, it's the yellow ones. And shit.
You got them expensive stuff.
Like straight dog piss. Right. You ain't eat that snow.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, those days, man, like, I really didn't learn that much from my coaches. Like, I learned how to, suck it up. Which is a big lesson. That's probably the best thing I learned, how to suck it up. Suck what up, bitch? I'm out here hitting y'all's balls. Suck what up?
Well, and to be honest, you look at a show like Friday Night Tights. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Ever watched any of that? But that is the
I probably haven't. No.
That is the example of.
I watched that Last Chance U though.
No, it's like a little kid version of that. Put it that way.
I know what it is.
It's just one of those things where, like, yeah, I get it. The tough. You want to be tough on these kids and teach them, but at the same time, man, when these kids are like, "Oh, I can't see straight. I got hit so hard," and you're like, "Get back in there! Beep 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 beep! You stupid beep!" Like.
When Little Tykes turns into Any Given Sunday and you're putting shots in their knees so they can get back out there and play, I mean, something ain't right.
Yeah, because obviously on that, like a lot of those kids, I mean, maybe per Little League team, maybe 2 or 3 of them go to college, play college football. Like you're not looking at all, like even those kids are like, man, look at how good he is at 6 years old. And all of a sudden he gets 15, it's like, he peaked at 6. Like, that's the thing. I think they put so much pressure on the kids instead of being like, hey, learn this as much as you can now, and then you get better. And as I teach you as a coach, that as you want to do, like winning will come. If you work hard and you do this, you'll win. You may not win right away, but you have to keep working at it and working, and that's why you see, and especially it's
not practice; it's before and after practice what you do with it.
Like football's probably the best example of all sports, because a lot of people come out of nowhere in football to be great. Because people see, like, oh, this guy,
walk-ons.
This guy's a walk-on, or Jerry Rice went to this small school. Like, no one thought about these people as being good football players. And all of a sudden, they work hard. They put work in. And that's one of the sports where, like I said, unlike baseball, like where you have to get the hand-eye coordination. Football is like, if you put hard work in, you can be very good. Basketball, you know who's good at basketball when they're 12. You know a 12-year-old, that kid's probably going to be in the league 9 times out of 10. You know right away. It's not one of those things in. Like baseball, you probably have to go a little longer. You can't, but basketball, like that's why they're recruiting kids at 10 years old, 12 years old. Like, oh, they know he's going to be good already. They already know. There's no, you could tell.
Like, So, and to talk, since we're kind of talking about bad coaches and the bad side of parents and stuff like that in sports, and I know this is probably not a popular thing to say. But wait, you got
to tell it, because this is the Unabashed Truth Podcast.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, you go with anything you want to say. Speak your mind.
AAU basketball has been probably the best and the worst thing to happen to the world.
Yes.
As far as the crooked coaches who do dirty stuff just to say, I want a Nike, national tournament. And, the parents that, hey, son, I know you wanted to spend 2 months on vacation or, have fun for a summer, but no, you're going to go play basketball. So suck it up,
Right.
And it's bad also for even high school sports and college sports. It teaches that whole, you're in this bubble and only you, 1,000 kids in this little bubble are going to have a chance.
Yep.
And like, you don't get the Dame Lillards who probably played at AU, but he wasn't a high recruit. He went to Weber State. Like no one knew he was going to. But it took.
You don't get the Kawhis. You don't get the.
You don't get the step. Yeah, you don't get those guys who can learn. I think even.
Right.
We have to get back to where high school basketball matters, and because like you have these kids go to high school all day, and it's like, oh, it doesn't matter. Like I know LaMelo Ball's an anomaly of it, but that could have went horribly wrong. Like taking about, he got lucky. That could have been like. His life's over. He has no high school degree. He has no this. Like that could have went the worst way ever. Like, and that's the thing. Like
He could have been Jello.
Yeah. And I think Jello's getting a bad rap because of stupid things he did off court. Right. Allegedly, he actually did it. But that's the thing. Like,
in the spotlight.
All those things are, like you said, AAU puts that in kids, and they get kids, especially. And I know there's travel baseball. Travel baseball, that purpose is a little different than AAU. I think travel baseball really is, all right, you do it in the summer. You do it in the off season. You only do it for this time, and you have to actually make that team. You're not paying to go to that team. Like, you have to make that team. Right. There's only one team in this region. Sorry. Like, there's not 10 teams in this region that all competing to try to go to nationals. No, there's one. So I think it's a big thing, and I think travel baseball, that didn't even make you go to college or get you anything. That just gets you to a travel league. You still can end up at a college or someplace anyway. And it's many levels of this. I think we can definitely, talk about sports more, because obviously we got the resident sportscaster here, which we'll definitely have to do some crossovers here and do more things. So let's see, man. Anything else you want to touch on in this, man? We can keep going, or we can let it go, man. It's up to you.
I can always talk. Don't get me wrong. Another thing, I'll kind of throw this out here to you, GT, and tell me what you think about it.
I don't know nothing.
This is something that we're dealing with our youth baseball league now.
Okay.
So we have what's known as the Dons and the Vandals, and they're like a select team.
Okay.
And then we still have some of their kids that will come and play regular Little League ball. Mm-hmm. The Vandals coaches told the Little League coaches, absolutely, you will not pitch our kids at all.
Okay.
So in theory, the Vandals take kids from like all local schools around here. So not just Van Wert, where I'm from. So you're not giving those kids, in my opinion, a chance to gel with the kids that they're going to play with moving forward. So, if you're playing with 4 Lincoln View kids, 3 Crestview kids, 2 Wayne Trace kids, and 4 Van Wert kids, you're not going to play with those kids anymore.
Yeah, you can go back to your school and play.
Yep. And so you don't give those kids the chance to actually bond and play together and do it the right way. Mm-hmm. And, it just seems like more and more, and I don't know, I can't talk about where you're from. And Chris, I know you're from, BG, Weston.
Well, I'm from my mom.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
But I'm saying,
we weren't talking about parental impact anymore. My bad.
But, I guess my whole point in bringing that up is like, our football coach, our varsity football coach, and Chris and I talked about this yesterday. Mm-hmm. He supports the flag football program.
Okay.
And instead of like having flag football be the feeder to our tackle football, which we are the feeder system for the junior high and high school, he's telling parents to not let them play tackle football until junior high. Now, I get the health risks involved and all that stuff, but as a parent, I would think if you wait until the 7th grade before you let a kid get hit for the first time, a 7th grader is going to be bigger, stronger, faster than a 5th grader or a 4th grader. I would rather my kid get popped by a 4th grader in the 4th grade than wait till the 7th grade for the first time and getting hit by a 220, 230-pound kid who can run like lightning.
Yeah, especially in football, it's tough, man. That's one of those like yes and no things. Like I get both sides. I see why the coach is trying to keep them only in flag football first, because there are some skills you do learn in flag football that, from a skill position, for a skill position, it's great.
That's what we talked about last night too.
It's great for skill positions, but when you get to the trenches and those guys, like, what do they learn? They don't learn how to take hits.
That's what I'm saying. Where's the game for a lineman?
So it's tough. It's one of those tough things where
in flag football
it makes sense, but you may end up. I think the goal of this whole flag football thing is to take football out of America, period. Because it's one of those things where if you don't have linemen and they don't start doing this until they're in high school, maybe later, maybe they're like, I don't want to do it now. Like, I'm old. I don't want to start playing football. I'm already in high
doing
school.
It because I'm big and I have strength.
Yeah, but they would start younger and saw, I'm pretty good at this lineman thing.
Yeah,
I'm pretty good at that. Or
I have skills.
So I get why the coach is saying doing it, but I may not start. You may have, maybe leading up to maybe like 10 years old, you have them in flag football, just because at least they're still growing. But after that, it's up to the parent then. It's up to the parents and the same thing. And it's up to the parents. Also, it's up to the kids. Like, there's kids who are like, I want to do this regardless. I want to play football.
Carter would probably want to right now if he ever plays football again. I hope he wants to play tackle football because that's the shit I want him to want that for him because I want him to want contact. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like, shut up, Chris. That's just the OG talking in me. But, I wouldn't be upset if he chose flag football because, if you think you can get around dudes and, you know what I'm saying? If you think you can, I was a receiver, man.
Yeah, but that's the position you're playing. Like, if your kid's playing receiver or even quarterback for that matter, like, go do what you got to do. Don't, I'll let them play flag football only. Like, don't play that till you get up there. Because receivers, you won't get hit as much as you think you will as a receiver. Like, you do get hit, but not to the extent where, like, that every play lineman thing or linebacker thing. So I get both sides, but I agree with you like that. And also going to your baseball thing, that is the craziest thing ever baseball wise. Because you think about like some of the best times you played, like when you go to high school or middle school, any of those things, you're playing with you're just gonna play with the same kids. Maybe you may get one kid that comes in from another school and takes somebody's spot, but most of the time it's gonna be those same 20 kids you got on team with. Probably on the same team until you graduate. You may get some freshmen up there and things, but those other kids will still be there. So, the baseball thing is crazy. I understand like select team because it's good, but you should be able to coach them first. The school should coach them first. Select team should be like on the weekends or whatever they play. I don't do now. I know before it was like my select team was, I think we had practice Thursday nights and games on Sunday. So the rest of the week I was with my regular team. The Thursday night I'll go do that because it was like come practice with them, say hi, do what you got to do, and go on. So I could see it, and I think the select teams back when I grew up, it was they depending on the school coaches to teach the kids the basics first. Teach them how to practice them every day. So when they come to that game, you just put them in their position. You go say play, you're good. You had your practices. So I don't know why they're doing it different now. Maybe it's because they're trying to be more AAU style where we're just trying to feed them. And a lot of those coaches want the AAU money. AAU basketball money's a big chunk of money for those coaches. Like if you could start taking that into baseball where now
something good to put on a resume.
You're getting Nike sponsors coming into baseball saying, hey, have all the players in this. Here's $50,000, coach.
And see, that's always been the fine line too. That's something we haven't addressed. Is like we all say we would know what we would do in the situation. But even as parents, I've always been a true believer to this point of you got to parent the kids you have, not the kids you want. You got to coach the kids you have, not the team you want. Like if I come in with a group full of third graders, maybe the triangle offense, but I learned from Phil Jackson, isn't the best for that third grade offense. Maybe they just won't get it.
Well, Kobe,
you know what I'm saying though?
Rest in peace, Kobe. He was teaching his daughters that starting from young age, like they'll know this by the time they're 13, 14.
But you know what I'm saying though? Like,
yeah,
maybe these motherfuckers need to learn how to dribble a ball first.
Yeah, the basics
before they can look to the other side. And you know what I'm saying? Like, there's ways to start with it, and everything I think is situational.
Mm-hmm.
That's what people tend to forget. It's not all black and white.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is situational. Especially when it comes to parenthood. Like, I never thought in my life I would ever become a parent the way I became a parent, or, lose children the way I lost kids, or, grow children the way I grew children, or, whatever, man. I mean, it's literally all situational, but as far as a coaching perspective, it all came from the way my parents parented me and not from my coaches.
Yeah, I got you.
I looked at how my parents responded to my coaches. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I took from my coaches. But I could never really sit here and say I had a great coach, a sports coach. I think I had more physical trainers that growing up from my school that actually spent more time with the kids and learned, what made them tick, or, how to get them back in the game and be like, hey, man, like, you need to hear this. Like, your knee isn't good, but you can still have a quarter in you. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was people that like that, just the way they talk to you. I never really had a good coach that could sit back and tell me, hey, like, you need to block more. Or, you know what I'm saying? You need to block out more. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that shit didn't register to me because I was going to put my body where I put my body anyway. You know what I mean? But, I could have had better coaches and had a different perspective, and some kids do.
Yeah.
You know, some kids don't want to play flag football because they like to hit people. You know, they got shit they need to take out on people, man. And some shit they get it from their parents, some shit they get it from their teachers, some shit they get it from their principals. You know, whether they think they're right or wrong, some kids need to let shit out. And football was always a great way for us as kids to do that. Yeah. Let's be honest. You know, and as soon as you put those pads on, you're not bullying nobody no more. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to put those pads on, you want to square up, you're going to get hit. Whether it be me or you. Somebody has to win this battle. You know, like that mentality is different now. You know, which I understand it. But don't be giving participation trophies out. You know, as parents, if you sit back and you don't get your kids ready for whatever the fuck those kids are going to do. Mm-hmm. You know, you can do your part, but those kids are going to respond the way they want to respond too. So, you know, as far as what you asked, Matt, you know, this head coach or this neighborhood coach, man, this high school coach saying that flag football is better. Okay, cool. So, you know, you're in the reins now. Like you got the mic. What are you going to do with it? What's going to happen here in 10 years?
Yeah.
You know, what are you going to do with it? Like, what's your point? I don't understand.
For me, I guess, you know, to kind of circle back around to a couple things. The whole point I brought that up is like, I don't really want to get into the whole debate about concussions and the safety of football. But to kind of go back to the parenting, I think something that has bothered me that I've noticed is statistically, percentage-wise, there are more kids in youth sports, not numbers-wise, because there are more kids that play football than soccer. But percentage-wise, there are a higher percentage of kids that play youth soccer that get debilitating injuries more than football. But football gets the bad stigma. And that kind of goes back into like, you know, we talk about like, oh, I want to be friends with my kids. And, you know, I'm not saying social media is bad. I'm not the old man that the computer's the devil. I'm not, you know, I'm not saying that. But like, you know, when you're 27, 28, you should be smart enough to know at that point in your life that everything you read on Facebook isn't real. You know, maybe you shouldn't be doing the stupid TikTok trends, and maybe you should be buckling down and being a parent instead of, you know, well, I read on Facebook today that if you eat lima beans, you are not going to be able to, you know, use the bathroom for 3 weeks. So I'm not letting my kids eat lima beans anymore. Well, your kid ate lima beans 2 weeks ago and went to the bathroom just fine. So just because Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or whatever you're on says something, it doesn't mean it's the gospel truth. And too many people, you know, and take that one step further. I don't care what your political affiliation is, but every news channel there is politically biased. So news is not news anymore. It is not based in fact. It's based in opinion. And if you choose to believe it, then that's what you believe, instead of educating yourself on both sides and coming up with an informed decision or an informed opinion. You just see the first thing you see and you take that as the gospel truth. And I think that's where, you know,
just it never really has to do with anything when it comes to experience. And
exactly. And that's where I think we have a disconnect as a country is if I saw that somebody supported Trump, you know, said this, and everybody that supported Trump has to be that way. Or oh, he likes Biden, so he has to be a liberal hippie who smokes, you know, the reefer, and, you know, he must shoot needles in his veins. And, you know, instead of sitting down and actually being an intelligent human being, the first thing we see online is the only thing that is based in fact, according to people. And I think that's where, like, you know, like I said, that's where we have a disconnect anymore is, you know, people don't want to take the time to get to actually know things beyond face value, you know?
Yeah.
Just to tie that, like the whole sports thing back into the parental thing and, you know, just people in general. That's where we've lost touch with each other.
Well, you know, I think it also depends on what kind of roots you have set for yourself. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I agree. I'm just.
And this is why we have this podcast to this day, because we did this shit face to face.
Yeah.
Right.
We addressed every issue with any walks of life. I mean, this is what we did. Right. Yeah, we sat back and had beers and talked about who was worse at having beers. I mean, it was always a competition thing when we were young, but we were trying to find ourselves.
Yeah.
But this podcast was born off of way before it even, got to a point to where it was conceived. Like we sat back and we had conversation with people. We asked people questions because we wanted to know. And now, people want to look at the difference. No. The difference is the best part. Because everyone is fucking different.
That's true.
Stop acting like all these unwritten rules are so valid that we cannot step outside of anything that we know. It's not fucking worth it. It's all just a big ass pile of shit that people buy into to keep us away from each other and to keep us judging each other and to keep us acting like we're the best parent, we're the best uncle, we're the best brother. I mean, it doesn't matter. At the end of the fucking day, what does it matter? It doesn't. The one thing that I think that matters is, when you have good parents, man, actually teach you that, and even they stray too. Like that's one thing my parents gave me early was my parents let me know that, you know what, I'm gonna let you see me as a human being and not just think that I'm a god that makes no bad decisions. You know what I'm saying? Like, period, man. Like, I ain't trying to press nobody. I don't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the way I was raised. Now I'm already missing one. I had seen my dad die. I mean, dude, I've done it. And I'm not here to sit back and be like that old man. I told you so.
Yeah.
It's not my intentions. It's you get to a point, man, to where you're tired of being around fucking fake people, and you got to jump on Zoom to be around decent people. And you got to, you're lucky that life anymore, the biggest thing that I think these days, does for you is it helps you weed out the good from the bad easier because you don't have to try as hard with people. People are quick to cut you off quicker than you are to cut them off.
Yeah.
No, go ahead and weed it out for me. I ain't got to fucking cut you off. Cut yourself off. I mean, period. Like looking back after, my kids are almost 13 years old. I'm 4 years old, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm still young. I still have the want to get out in the world and coach and want to be a young man and, but stress-wise, it tells me that, Chris, you have to time manage more than anything now because your kids need that from you. You know what I'm saying? And the same way with the coach. A lot of coaches, man, they do it because, like you said today, Matt, your kids are in the sport. Just like me. You want to be there for your son. You want to coach him. Now you see an opportunity. Okay, I can kill two birds with one stone. I ain't got to bring him to any other fields. He's right here with me every fucking field, every practice.
Yeah.
There's no more running. And if part of you feels bad for it, but at the same time, you're like, you know what? I'm still doing the right thing. I still want to be there. You know what I'm saying? Like,
but there's a huge difference. Let me clarify what I mean. There are people that have no other motive than to be there for their kids. And then there are coaches who have their kids on a team that still have a lot of value to give to other people. And that's the difference is, there are people, look, you all played on the team at least once in your life where the coach's son was probably the 10th best player on a team of 12, but he started every game because of who his dad was.
Yep. Been there.
That's what I'm talking about.
Me too.
Yeah. So. But yeah, man, this has been great, man. This is a great conversation. I definitely want to do more of these and have you on again. So as I shut this down, I'll let you kind of, Matt, tell the people on Twitch, podcast, also YouTube, where they can find you at, man.
So right now I'm actually going to give a shout out to, I'm actually working with the weather team right now. I'm running their social media, doing some YouTube stuff for them.
Ohio Weather Spotters.
Weather specialists.
Specialists, baby. But you spotters, though.
Check us out on YouTube at Ohio Weather Specialist, Facebook and Instagram at Ohio Weather Specialist, Twitter at OWS 2019. You can follow me on Twitch at MattGZ33. I'm going to start putting some stuff on there. I meant to get on that for a long time and just, never had the right equipment to do so. But
now I got busy growing that beard.
Yeah. Getting all the grays.
We're trying to catch you.
But definitely, eventually, hopefully next year when things go back to normal, Northwest Ohio Sportstime is where you can catch me. We cover all local high school events. What we did when we first started out as a company, there's a lot of small schools where I'm from that don't get a lot of media coverage. So we decided to dedicate ourselves to get into those schools. So grandma and grandpas that might live in Florida or Texas or something like that, some aunts and uncles that might not get to see games and stuff like that. Well, when the big schools get all the coverage, it kind of leaves them out, Oh, hey, I got a newspaper clipping twice a year that I get to send to Grandma Lucy down in Boca Raton. So we try to get into those schools and, try to give them a little bit of love and, so their friends and family can keep track of them as well.
All right, man, that's great, man. I'm it's glad to hear you're doing so much things. Kind of get
shout out to Boca Raton.
Boca Raton. Shout out to you. Shout out to everything you're doing, man. I hope we can have you on more. I hope we can do some more collabs and things in the future. So yes, thank you everybody for listening to future. Thank you everybody for listening to podcast.